Good afternoon and welcome to episode 3 of the Inside Greyhound Athletics podcast. I'm your host Ryan Shumaker and I'm pleased to be joined this afternoon by head women's basketball coach Josh Prock, who is entering his 8th year as head of the women's basketball program here at Eastern. Coach, as you know by now, we are doing this podcast to allow our listeners a little inside look at the athletic department and an inside look of our programs from the past, current, and future. And I would say the last couple of years have been pretty good for EMU women's basketball. What do you say?
Yeah, Ryan, we've been very blessed. It obviously helps to have really good players and really good coaches alongside us. And these coaches and players have performed very well. And very pleased with the direction of our program and where we're going. And excited about the future. But you look over the last couple of years, 2 straight NCAA tournament appearances, got a Lone Star Conference tournament win last year. Obviously the NCAA tournament being canceled, unfortunately we don't know what would have happened there, but we were playing a really good basketball there at the end of the year. But really pleased with everything that's been going on and excited about the future for sure.
Coach, the last, you mentioned qualifying for the NCAA tournament 3 out of the last 4 years, and I think last year was kind of the icing on the cake for this program. And I think one of the pivotal moments for me was that win against Oklahoma Christian in the first round of the LSC tournament inside a packed Greyhound arena. I think that was pretty special, not just for your program, but for the community as a whole. What other moments throughout the last 4 years really stand out to you? Obviously making the tournament in 16-17, and then the last 2 years in 18-19 and 19-20. What are some of the moments that you think about whenever you think about those 3 years in particular?
Well, when you think about the last 4 years, you definitely think about all the success that we've had. You think about in 16-17 where we were in the conference championship, kind of moments that, if you look at the turning point in our program, one of the turning points in our program I look at was the 16-17 year, and it happened in December 16. We go to WT, and I think we were unproven a little bit. I mean, people didn't know, I thought, we as coaches thought we could be pretty good. We've been playing pretty well. We go up against the WT team that I believe that year was picked to win the conference. So they got a lot of returners, and they were I want to say they were ranked 3rd or 4th in the country at the time. And I knew we had a tough team. I knew we were going to be good that year. I mean, Ryan, we went into that game, and at one point, I want to say in the 4th quarter, 5 minutes ago, we were up 20 points. And I just knew that team had a chance to be very special. And so then you spin forward into when we went to, in January, we go to Angelo State that year, and they were ranked, I think, 7th in the country. And we come back and beat them in overtime that year. And that was a very talented Angelo team. So we were able to, I think that year we shared the conference title, but went to the NCAA tournament. The next year had a little bit of an off year. In most cases you would think 16-12 is a good year, but from the standard that these young ladies have set, that was a little bit off at that point. So didn't make the NCAA tournament, in 17-18, but in 18-19 turned around. A lot of significant moments that year, but we're able to get to the NCAA tournament again for the second time in 3 years, and really good players that year. Notably Triana Clay. That year was the newcomer of the year. Probably could have been player of the year in the league too, but Trey was a very special young lady. And then you spin forward to this past year, winning 22 games, which I believe tied one win away from tying a school record. And who knows, we may have beat that school record if we were able to keep playing. But, last year again to the NCAA tournament again for, like you said, the 3rd time in 4 years. Last year beating Lubbock Christian, who was ranked number 1 at the time, on our home court. It was a big moment for this program because I think when you think about West Texas basketball, we've been fortunate to beat WT a few times. And of course they beat us, but we hadn't beaten Lubbock yet. And that was one of those moments where they'd won the national title 2 of the last 4 years. It was that moment to see where we could go as a program. But we ended up beating them at home in overtime. And I think that's when we really knew as a program, like, okay, we are definitely one of the top 25 teams in the country. Like, we're going to perennially be there as long as we keep this up.
Speaking on behalf of last year in particular, two big pieces that I think you definitely consider foundations of the program, and Zam Cox and Olivia Lewis. Both players that came in as true freshmen, played right away, had impacts right away. What makes those two individuals so special to this program and allows them to be that foundation of success for the last couple of years and moving into this year?
Oh, great question. Take them individually. We look at somebody like Olivia Lewis, who came here as a freshman. She was one of the first kids, Ryan, that we were able to recruit and able to convince to come here. When I felt like we beat out some of the better teams in the region. Like Christian, I know, was recruiting her. West Texas was recruiting her. Fort Lewis and some of the RMAC schools were recruiting her. So winning that recruiting battle was huge because we finally felt we turned the corner a little bit, being able to get her. And we knew she was going to be a special kid. But I think what makes Olivia, so good is just her character. She's a high level of character. She's a great kid. She works extremely hard. I think her basketball ability stands for itself with the fans being able to see her play. When you look at Zam Cox, I mean, I'll be honest with you, when she was a sophomore in high school, I watched her and I was like, yeah, she's got a chance to be pretty good. And then you watched her as a junior and you were like, oh man, she got a chance to be real good. And I thought it was going to be a tough recruiting battle, but it really came down to us in Pueblo. She wanted to stay close to home. So signing her was huge, Ryan, because I felt like she had a chance for 3, maybe 4 years to be the best point guard in the conference. I mean, she's a very talented young lady, and she's been a staple of this program. And of course, the last 2 years now going on 3. And her work ethic is second to none. I mean, she is obviously a very talented player, but you combine that with her work ethic, and it's pretty impressive to watch. And so I guess, long story short, about those two, we're thankful that, and I guess not icing on the cake with that would be the New Mexico kids. I think that's special that these kids can stay at home and be part of this program and be from this state. So we're excited about that, and the future is going to be bright. Looking forward to this year and seeing what we can accomplish.
Two other names that really stepped up at different times last year that came into this program as true freshmen and are from either in-state or around this area, Natalie Stice and Kamaya Decker. I think they really showed last year the development of this program and showcasing talented players coming off the bench and talented players that can serve as role players. And I think last year that was definitely the difference in the postseason, getting valuable minutes from those kind of players that came in as freshmen and are still young but have developed into getting time off the bench. I know Natalie kind of worked herself into the starting lineup towards the end of the season, but how important is it to get those local kids, those in-state kids that can be here for 4 years and develop into a role off the bench?
Oh, it's very important. I mean, we've always said that our recruiting base has to be New Mexico, the entire state of New Mexico and West Texas. We kind of start there and then kind of spread out from there. West Texas recruiting can be difficult at times. I mean, you've got 2 extremely good programs over there in West Texas and Lubbock Christian. So, I mean, it can be. So when we recruited Natalie Stice, we knew it was going to be difficult to get her. She was a talented kid coming out of high school. I mean, when we went to watch her in high school in one game, she sat out the third quarter and still scored 45 points. So we knew we were getting a special kid with her. We just we knew it was going to take a year probably for her to develop, and so she came in and redshirted and was able to play last year as a redshirt freshman. And it was for her. I think you remember last year the game was Texas International, and we've been trying a lot of people at the 2 guard spot, and so we're like, well, we haven't tried Natalie yet, so we as specialists decided, well, let's throw her in there and see what she does. Man, she came out that game and she scored 22 points, and it was a tight game, and we wouldn't have won without her. So she kind of solidified that role for us, and Natalie just brings that element of speed. She's extremely fast, she's quick, she has, she really sees the game well. So Natalie's, her trajectory is just continuing to point really high. We got Kamira Decker was just another one of those young ladies that we felt that, Olivia Lewis was the year before. Olivia, we felt, was one of the better players in the state, both kids-wise. Kamira, we felt the same way about. We felt that she was really good, and it was important for us to get her. And we were able to get her commitment. And Kamira is just, she's just one of those tough kids. She can't replace that on the court. She can hit an open shot. She rebounds very well for her. She can score around the basket. So there's a lot of things she does very, very well. But just being from New Mexico, like with her, Olivia, Naomi, Haley, we can name a few others. Brianna Rodriguez on our team. And then, of course, Natalie Stice being from not too far off. These young ladies take a lot of pride in being close like this and being involved in a program and taking this as a chance to really continue to mark on something that's been pretty special so far.
As big of an impact as those individuals that you mentioned have made, I think the turning point in this program has really been a high level of transfer that's been able to come in, particularly in the last couple of years. It kind of started with your now assistant coach, Michaela Connor, and then it went to Daisha McCann's, and then you mentioned Treyana Clay already. And then last season with Natalie DeLong and Jasmine Williams. That's a tough thing to do in college basketball nowadays, especially when you only get those kids most of the time for just 1 year. How have you been able to have the success, not just recruiting them to come to Portales, but when they get to Portales, to integrate with the team and the community and have that success on the court? But most of the time they're here for just 1 year.
Yeah, that's a great question, Ryan. I think the first and foremost thing you got to do is sell to these kids of where they're going to fit and how they're going to fit into your program. And then I think our young ladies that are currently in our program sell itself. When we bring recruits on campus, these transfers come from places where it was either they didn't like the coach or they didn't like the area, or just there's always a factor there. Not playing time, something like that. But when they come here, they feel part of the family, and it goes beyond just our basketball coaches and players. It goes, like you said, the community. And I think when kids feel that sense of being a part of something special, a family, Ryan, I think it opens their eyes a little bit more in the sense of their willingness to learn, their willingness to adapt. So a lot of willingness on their part to do that. And I always tell people, there's no magic formula how we've been able to do this. It was more of just us. We just got these kids to believe in our vision. We've gotten these kids to believe in what we're doing and how we're doing it. And they bought in very quickly. And a lot of these kids, it's been a sense of urgency, because you talk about Treyana Clay, Jasmine Williams, Natalie Long, all 1 year kids. I mean, Daisha McCann was a 2 year kid. Some of these transfers, like Michaela, like you mentioned, have had 3 years. We got another couple kids this year that have 2 and 1 years. But they have a sense of urgency about themselves, because they know that it's not going to be very long. They know that they've got to, like again, Treyana Clay, when she came here, and we got her here, and right away in September that month, she was like, Coach, I'm putting everything out there. Like, this is it for me. I promise you it's going to work. We're going to get to what we need to get to. And when kids have that attitude, right, it may be difficult sometimes getting plays and stuff, but I also think as a coach, one of the things I learned growing up is growing up and coaching and stuff, is you got to be willing to adapt. You have to adapt to your team. And I think that's one of the strengths that I think we've had as coaches, is our willingness to adapt to the strengths of what we have as a team.
Coach, it's been a tough year starting back in March with the cancellation of the regional tournament, and then not having kids back on campus here in a typical format to develop and work throughout the fall semester. It does sound like, though, there's been some positive movement, that it looks like we're going to be able to get the kids, your student athletes back here sometime in mid to late October. It also looks like the Lone Star Conference is preparing to make some announcements about schedules, and it looks like your season could start, early to mid-December. Nothing official, nothing set in stone yet. But what's going to be the immediate response to that information from you and in your program, and what's kind of be what are the next couple of weeks going to look like for you and the Greyhounds?
Well, I know our girls, once they hear, we're able to give them the official dates, and we're able to give them the official timeline, the schedule, the season, and how that's going to look. You can just imagine, what it's like for some kids when they wake up on Christmas Day. I mean, that's what it's going to be like for these kids. I mean, you're talking about, there's been, whether in our conference or other places, there have been places that have allowed their basketball teams and other sports to they've been practicing, they've been doing stuff. And so for our kids, we haven't been on campus and stuff like that, as the fans know. And so once that news hits their messages and stuff, I can just imagine, it's going to be like, because, a lot of these girls haven't done it. I mean, whether they're a transfer into here or, they've been here. We haven't done it since March. Yes, they picked up a basketball. Yes, they've gotten some workouts in. But at the end of the day, you and I both know, Ryan, it's not the same as a practice, or it's not the same as a coach putting you through something like that and stuff. So I know these girls are going to be extremely excited. I'm excited. I know my coaches are excited. We hired a new GA this past year. I know he's excited. He hasn't had a chance to even be here at Eastern yet. And he's going to be coming very soon, because of all this news and stuff. So absolutely, we're excited, and we can't wait to get going with everybody.
Once everybody gets back and that excitement kind of continues but dies off in a sense as well, we start to look forward to the basketball portion of this good news and getting the schedule kicked off. Always a tough schedule in the Lone Star Conference. The same teams that are good every year are going to be good again. We know the names that are going to come back this year and make impacts here at Eastern New Mexico. Cox, Lewis, Stice, Decker. Give me some more names, whether it be some newcomers. I know you're really excited about the trio of newcomers that you have coming in, but also some names on the roster that may take that next step, like a Lewis, Cox, Stice, and Decker have made last year and previous years as well.
I think someone you could always keep your eye on. It's kind of funny we're talking about her. She's going to be a senior to Jenna Melbert. And Jenna's been very much a consistent young lady for us. This will be her fourth year in the program, third year to play because she's a redshirt. But I do think that Jenna will be a very consistent force for us this year. Somebody like Taylor Griffey last year took a lot of good steps in the right direction, and I think that she's ready to take that next step, in her career. Locally young lady too, so I'm kind of excited to watch her. Taylor Hall, a young lady that, if fans remember correctly, beginning of last year, she was like wowing a lot of people. Like, well, this true freshman would have come in here and doing a lot of really good things. And she didn't play like a freshman. Now at times she did, and at times you're like, oh man, But unfortunately for Taylor, she got pretty sick in early December of last year, and that kind of set her back for 3 or 4 weeks. And then, so other kids kind of stepped up in roles and different things like that. And so when she came back, she didn't really have a footing as well as she wanted to. And then, just a freak accident where she tore her ACL. But she's recovering and doing great, and we're looking forward to her as well taking a step forward. And we also have Anisha Hurst and Chelsea Hunter and Laura Rowe, who will all be seniors that, you expect them to be steady. And then, as far as the new girls, we're real excited about all of them. I mean, you look at, we call her Jamisha Amon, her name goes by Mimi, and super excited about her. A 6'3" kid that's, can do it all. She can rebound, she can hit outside shots, she can finish around the rim. She's an extremely physical, athletic kid. Another 6'3", 6'4" kid, Alexis Johnson, transferring in from a very good school out in Virginia, Hampton University. Big kid, just kind of a brute, strong force kid down low, and she's going to be a very good. Give us great depth, very good. We're going to call her a role player or whatever, but all these kids fit into their role really well once we get that. So, and then Stacy, the young lady from California that we signed, she's just physically gifted in the sense of extremely strong, extremely athletic, and when she gets going, head of steam to the basket, you watch her on film and stuff like that. She's pretty tough to guard, So we're excited about all these young ladies, and especially the newcomers and stuff. But really like our depth, really like our team. Obviously, like what we have coming back from last year's team. Could be an exciting year for sure.
One of the words that you continue to mention throughout this offseason when thinking about this year's team is experience. a lot of different players that have a lot of different experiences and a lot of different roles and a lot of different games. How valuable is that going to be whenever you have a shortened off season here and you're going to have to get going with conference play, it looks like, right away?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's one of the things that gives you a lot of hope, gives you a lot of promise for this year, is the experience that we have coming back. I mean, when you look at the minutes being logged on this team over the years, and realistically, when you think about it, even the transfers we have coming in, I mean, Mimi has played a lot of minutes. You know, she's coming from Louisiana Tech. Alexis played quite a few minutes. You know, so it's not just our returners coming back. We have experience coming in with the new growth we brought in. So experience is going to be big because I think like you said, we have a shortened practice season to get ready. But I think they're going to adapt a whole lot easier because what we're going over and stuff, it'll trigger for them and they'll remember the stuff. So the consistency will be there. The experience. If this was a newer team, a younger team, would be a little more of a concern for sure. But we're looking forward to what we have.
Coach, if you could pick one term or phrase that you would hope that others would describe you as a basketball coach, what would that word or phrase be?
Well, Ryan, it's one of those things that I hope that people, whether they're around me, extended amount of time or a short period of time, see you as a coach, see you as a person. I hope people will describe one day when I pass on from this earth as a servant. Somebody that serves his players, somebody that serves his family. First and foremost, serves his family, serves his players, serves those that are, that we work with. Having a servant mentality. We talk about servant leadership all the time, being a servant. And I think that's one of the things that I hope the young ladies that lead this program, that's what they do. They go into this world with an attitude of service. And I think that, is going to make this world a whole lot better the more people we have that are doing that. So I would hope that would be one word that people look at me and say, who is a servant leader?
OU Texas Week. I know you are loyal to your Sooners just as much as you were loyal to the Greyhounds. Give me a final score prediction and your thoughts on OU football up to this point.
Boy, you would throw that out there before we were at.
Absolutely.
It's been an interesting year for sure. COVID has thrown a lot of wrenches into the Sooners. I'm not making any excuses. They've definitely had some, kids opting out this year that, it's hit them pretty hard, and they've had some suspensions from last year that's hit them pretty hard. But, I've got a tremendous amount of confidence in the leadership of that football program and the coaches they have there. The two games that they've lost this year, the bottom line is they've had control of both those games. And if they finish the games properly, we're sitting undefeated. So it's been unfortunate to lose those two games. But this is Texas Week. This will be my first time in 21 years that I have not actually been at the game. And I would have been tempted to go this year, but with the 14-day quarantine and the limited amount of people in the stadium, it was going to be really difficult to even get a ticket or anything like that. So my kids and it's one of those weekends that my 11-year-old twins look forward to every year because they go with me to the game, and stuff. So it's been, obviously not going to be able to go this year, but we'll be up, we'll be watching. So final score, of course, you show your bias here and stuff like that. I think we'll score around 35 on them. Probably like 35-31 us, something like that. I think we'll get them.
I was really hoping for 100-0 prediction or something like that. To be honest, I was kind of expecting it, but
yeah, okay. Spencer Rattler goes off and has one of those days. You never know, but being around you, I've developed an affection for Georgia Bulldogs. And so I know they're still good, and I know they're still rolling. So. Definitely Sooners are always going to be number one for me. I'll watch them, before anybody. But as I always tell you, I say, go Dogs.
Coach, that's what makes you one of my favorite people to be around in this athletic department, and I truly appreciate the time here this afternoon. I know I speak on behalf of all of Greyhound Nation. It's been a fun ride these last couple of years, and I know there's still a lot left on that ride, and we're looking forward to getting things going here and moving into this next season, and really thankful and appreciative of you as a coworker and as a friend too. So thanks for being on today.
Ryan, thank you. This is great that you guys are doing this, giving the fans kind of an update of what's going on. So, hopefully we'll be playing, whether they'll be able to watch us online or in person. I mean, who knows how that's going to work out, but these girls will be working hard, and they're, will definitely be representing Greyhound Nation very well.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach.